This conference will now be recorded.
Right, let's start. So yesterday we have started with local structures. We have seen how to declare the structure, how to access the structure fields, how to create a structure based on existing structure, copying the data between two structures, similar or dissimilar. We understood the difference between move and what? Move corresponding. Any questions? So yesterday I have not explained how do we use the structures in the real time. So if you have cross-check the material which I have sent, so in the material in the yesterday's folder, yeah, we have the structure purpose. So observe here, what is the purpose of structure is you'll have the database server where the data is maintained. Database server contains what? Database tables. So assume that I'm having a table at the database level like employee table which contains some three columns like employee number, employee name and designation. You may have hundreds and lakhs of records. Okay. So based on this data, we need to develop the reports. Okay. Huge amount of data would be there in the database tables. Now I want to develop reports on that particular data so that I can analyze something by looking at that particular report. So what you will do when you execute the report, we have to send the request to the database. We have to fetch the data. We have to read the data from the database. What are the data we retrieve from the database? That retrieved data will come and sit in what? Internal tables or will come and sit in what? Structure. Yesterday what you have done? We declare the structure. We have assigned the data inside the structure. Na? I have stored some data like 5 Raj and something like that. But generally what we will do, we will fetch the data from what? Database server, and that particular record whichever you are reading from the database, you'll put it inside what? Structure, and then you'll do some processing on that and then we'll display it. Make clear? So this is the purpose of what? Structure. Understood? Huge amount of data is there in the database server. I need to manipulate a record. Okay, I need to manipulate a record in the table. So what I'll do, I should not do the manipulation directly in the database. Whatever the record you want to manipulate, you'll retrieve that record to the structure where the structure gets created in your application server. Wherever your program gets executed, there the structure gets created. So that record will store it in the structure. After storing in the structure, we will process that particular data. Okay, we'll do some manipulation, and after that, after doing the manipulation, you may what? Either display that record or you will update that record back to what? Database. Okay, this is your manipulated data. You may display it on the output screen or you'll you'll update that record in the database. So manipulated data, what are the processing you've done, that particular data, you'll put it back to the database. Instead of directly doing the operation on the database server, we are retrieving it to our structure. This structure gets created in the application server. Once the data is stored in the structure, I can do some processing on that. I can do some calculation on that. I can do some changes. That manipulated data will update it back to what? Database, or you'll display it to the user in the form of what? Report. So this is the main aim of what? Structures. Any questions from this slide? Okay, right. Where we are now? So we understood how to work with the structures. Okay. Now let us get into other parts. Yeah, Bhavani, can you please mute your speakers? Yeah. So I'll go to Abap editor. Let us see the other areas of the structure. We have something called as nested structure. Nested structure means structure within the structure. Just like we have nested if means what? If within the if. Nested loop means loop within the loop. Similarly, we can declare a structure inside what? Another structure declaration. Let us see what is the syntax. Type of program is executable program. I'll save it in the local object. Right. So here, here what I'll do is how to declare a structure. We already know data begin of and end of. So I'll say data begin of. I'll give some structure name like employee. I'll declare the fields. Employee number type I. Employee name of 20 type C. Okay. Now within this structure, before closing this structure, I'll declare another structure. Begin of what? Department. I'll declare some fields here. Department number type I. What else? Department name of something 20 type C. I'll close this inner structure. End of what? Department. Then as part of outer structure, I'll declare another field like employee of designation 25 type what? C. Close the outer structure. End of what? EMP. Okay. So how the memory is allocated here? So we already know in structures the memory allocation is continuous, means all the fields are stored what? One after the other. All the fields are stored one after the other. Yeah. So how the memory is allocated here? This is the overall memory allocated. What is the first field here? All the fields are stored one after the other. Employee number. Next what? Employee name. So this is your employee number. Assume this is employee name. After employee name, what you are doing? We are trying to declare what? Inner structure department, which has got two fields, department number and department name. So I assume this is overall memory allocated for the department structure. Department structure has got what? Two more fields, department number and what? Department name. So I assume this is department number. This is a department name. And obviously this is what? Employee designation. Employee designation. Right. So these two inner fields, department number and department name, okay, they are part of what? They are part of department structure. And all these fields are part of what? Employee structure. So this is your employee structure. So nested structure or inner structure means same. Structure within the structure, we call it as what? Nested structure. So here the way we access the fields is important. Suppose I want to store the data and employee number. So I'll say emp hyphen employee number equal to something. Emp hyphen employee name. I'll give something. Then department number. I can't say emp hyphen department number equal to 10. This will give an error because department number is a part of department and department is part of what? Emp. So when I do syntax check, I'm getting an error in the 15th line. What is the error? EMP hyphen department number has no component called as what? Department number. So this is rolled out. So this is giving me what? Syntax error. So how do we access now? EMP hyphen department hyphen department number. So this is the way you access. What is the syntax? Outer structure hyphen what? Inner structure hyphen what? The field name hyphen the field name. Okay. Similarly, let me store the data for department name. So here I'll say department name. Then I'll set some data for designation. That's all. Let me try to print it. EMP hyphen employee number. Let me print everything in separate line. EMP hyphen employee name. EMP hyphen department number. What else? EMP hyphen department name. EMP hyphen what? Employee designation. Employee what? Designation. So save it. Check for the syntax. Done. Execute this. When I say F8, I got the result. So here the output is not important, but how do we access the inner structure fields is outer structure hyphen inner structure hyphen field name. Any questions, please? Okay. Now let us go for including structures inside another structure. Including structures inside another structure. So here what you are doing, we are going for what? Nested structure. Declaring a structure inside what? Another structure. That is called as nested structure or structure within the structure. One second, please. Right. So let us go for including the structures. Including the structure means, as the name itself suggests, including one structure inside what? Another structure. Okay. As of now, I will include only the local structure. Going forward, we will create the structure at the database level. They are called as global structures. Local structure means within a program, if you create anything, that is called as local. I can access that structure only within that program. If you want to access the structure across multiple objects, we have to create it globally at the database level. That is called as database structure. That will come later on. So as of now, I'll go for including the local structure. So including structure inside other structure. Type of program is executable. Yeah. So very simple and straightforward. Nothing much to discuss here. We have to understand the syntax. Begin of EMP, or I'll take department. I'll take some fields in the department structure. Let me take department number type I. I'll take another field department name of 20 type C. End of what? End of what department. Okay. Now I'll declare another structure. Data. What is this? Begin of EMP. Okay. Employee number type I. Employee name of 20 type C. Now in the employee structure also, I want these two fields. I'm including those two fields. I'll take another field here. What is this? Employee designation of something 25 type C. I'll close this. End of what? EM. Okay. So when I do syntax check here, yes, no errors. Am I clear? So I can declare like this. So in the employee structure also, we are declaring department number and department name. So instead of declaring these fields separately like this, once again, they are already part of an existing structure. No? I can include the whole structure at a time. So what is the adjustment I can do now? Instead of doing like this, let me comment. Right, I commented. Instead of doing like this, what I'll do, I will say Here I'll say I want to include here. I'll say include structure. Include structure. What is the existing structure name? Department. Include structure department. Am I clear? So include structure is the beginning of what? A new statement. Include structure is the beginning of new statement. So in Abap, the previous statement has to be closed. So here I should not give comma here. For this employee name type C, I'll give period so that I can include. Once this is included, here I give period here. End of the statement. Now you have to close the main structure. So here again you start with the data keyword. Data employee designation of 25 type C. Am I clear? So this is the way to include the fields of one structure inside another structure. When I do syntax check, I don't have any error. So make sure that before include, you give the period. After include also, you have to give the period and close the main structure like this. Suppose assume that department structure has got some 10 fields. Out of 10 fields, I want only 9 fields in the employee structure. So at that time, you should not go for include structure. We have to go for include structure only if we are interested to access all the fields of an existing structure. If you want only specific fields, you have to go for declaring those specific fields once again separately like this. Understood? Include structure means you have to go for that when you want to include the whole structure. But sometimes what happens in the projects is because of laziness, as I told you just now, department has got 10 fields. Now in the employee structure, out of 10 fields, I want that 8 fields on the department structure. So instead of declaring those 8 fields one by one, what we'll do, we'll say include structure. So unnecessarily we are including what? The whole structure. We should not do that. If you are interested to access all the fields, then only include the whole structure. Otherwise, declare the required fields manually. Done. And once we include, what happens? The fields of the included structure becomes part of what? Current structure. Becomes part of current structure. Okay, so from the employee, based on the employee structure, I want to access the other fields. How do I access here? I'll say emp hyphen employee number equal to something, emp hyphen employee name. Okay, if I say emp hyphen department number, this is very much valid in case of nested structure. Here we are not nesting, we are including, means all the fields of the included structure becomes part of what? Current structure. So when I do syntax check, I am getting an error. EMP has no component called as what? Department. So this is ruled out. This is ruled out. It will give me what? Syntax error. So how do I access here? You will say EMP hyphen what? Department number equal to 10. EMP hyphen department name equal to what? Something. And what is the other field? Designation. EMP hyphen designation equal to so and so. And when you're printing also same thing, right? I'll just print everything. EMP hyphen employee number, EMP hyphen employee name, EMP hyphen department number. I can access in any sequence, doesn't matter. EMP hyphen employee designation. So when I execute, no errors. I got the result. So point you have to focus is how do we include an existing structure? What is the keyword you have to use? Include structure. We have something called as include type. We will talk about that later on. Okay, so include structure. And before include, you have to close the previous statement. After including, close that particular statement. And whenever we include, what happens? All the fields of the included structure becomes part of what? Current structure. I can directly access. So as of now, we're including local structure. Suppose I'll say include structure department one. So what it will do? SAP will check whether the structure is available locally or not. Is it available in locally? No. It might be available in the database. I don't know. If it is available, it will include from the database. Otherwise, it will give an error. So when I do the syntax check, I am getting an error. The field department one is unknown. So what is the meaning? It is neither available locally nor available what? Globally. How do you create the global structure? We'll discuss later on. So as of now, we are including only the local structures. Yes, any questions, please?
Hello, sir. Rashmi here.
Yeah, Rashmi, tell me.
So, can we move corresponding or use an assignment operator when we have nested structures into a new structure? Can we get the whole structure, including the nested structure,
No,
into
no,
the
no,
new?
no, no,
No?
because they are not existing independently, na? They are not
Oh,
existing independently. If any two entities are existing independently, then I can do that. You got to my
okay.
point? Okay.
Okay. So, can we have this included structure then? Because it's a whole new thing. If
Yeah,
not,
now what I can do, I can move the data between EMP and department because both are existing independently.
okay.
Understood? They are
Got,
existing separately. Okay.
got it.
Yeah,
Thank you, sir.
yeah, yeah. Is it clear to others? So no one will tell us when to use include structure. Depending on your requirement, you have to decide. When do we go for include structure? If you want to make use of all the fields of an existing structure, instead of redeclaring those fields once again, I can include the whole structure at a time by using one statement called as include structure. Done? Okay. Right. So this is about the include structure. Now tell me the output of this. Data begin of EMP, employee number type I, employee name of 20, type C, employee designation of 25, type C, end of what? EMP. I'll assign some data. EMP hyphen employee number, then EMP hyphen employee name, then EMP hyphen employee designation equal to something. Done. Okay, this is my data. Now tell me, if I say like this, what is the output I'll get? Or what happens if I say like this? So far, what we have done, we are accessing the individual, we are printing individual structure fields in the right statement. Individual structure fields I'm printing. Now, if I do syntax check or if I execute, will I get the output? If so, what is the output I'll get, or else what happens? Anyone? If I say like this, what happens is it will try to concatenate all the structure fields. It will try to combine the data of all the structure fields. It will try to use concatenate internally. Concatenate can be used only on the string arguments, not on the numeric fields. But in my case, one of the field is numeric. Na? Employee number is what type? Integer. So when I do syntax check, I'll get an error. What is the error I'm getting? EMP cannot be converted to a character type value. So if we are using directly the structure name in the right statement, it will try to concatenate. Concatenation is possible only for the structure field. So this is giving me what? What? Syntax error. This is giving the syntax error. Suppose I'll say Let me give the structure name as EMP2. EMP2. Employee number wantedly I'll give it as type C. Right? I'll give it as type C, that is character. Now I'll say EMP2 hyphen employee number, EMP2 hyphen employee name, EMP2 hyphen employee designation. Okay, so done. So this is character done. Now I'll say write what? EMP. This should work because all the fields are what type? Character type. So concatenation is possible only for the character field. So when I execute, no errors. What is the result I got? 5 Raj and manager. So you can see here it is showing the entire thing as one value only because it is going to combine. So what I'm trying to say is I can use only the structure name in the right statement provided if all the fields of structure are what character only. If all the fields are integer also we cannot use. It will give error because integers cannot be converted, cannot be concatenated. So only character fields can be concatenated. That's why make sure that all the fields are what character fields. Hope this is clear to everyone. Any questions? Right. So this is so far what is the syntax we are following for creating the structure data begin of and end of syntax. There is another way of declaring the structure, which is a standard way of declaring the structures. Let us see that standard way. So if you are declaring by using data keyword, what is the point we know? Whenever a structure is declared by using data keyword, memory gets allocated for your structure fields. Memory get allocated for the structure fields and they get initialized to what? Default values. Now let us see the standard way of declaring the structures 23, 24. So in the projects, whenever you want to create a structure, the recommended practice, the recommended practice is you analyze the structure fields that you want to declare. Blindly we cannot declare. Okay. As an Abap and a consultant, we need to decide what fields you want to declare, what names you want to give, what data types you want to give. Based on that analysis, we have to create the template of the structure. How do you create the template of the structure means we have to use types keyword. Instead of using data keyword, what is the change I'm doing? Types keyword. Types. The difference between data and types is if I use data, memory will be allocated. Types will not allocate any memory. It only provides a template. So types I'll say begin of. You can give any name whatever you want, but we are trying to follow some coding standards. Na? Parameter variable we are starting with p underscore. Variables we are starting with v underscore. Constants we are starting with c underscore. Similarly, in most of the projects, the types of structure declaration will start with ty. You can give any name whatever you want. In some project, they may start with t underscore. Okay, I'll go for ty underscore. I'll give the name as emp. Okay, I'll declare some fields inside this. I'll say employee number, type what? I'll take another field, employee name of 20, type C, and I'll declare that's all. End of what? Ty underscore emp. Right? So the difference between data and types keyword is data will allocate memory. Types keyword will not allocate any memory. It only provides a template of the structure. Template of the structure means what are the fields in that structure, what are the data type of the fields. That template will provide. Based on this template only, we can create what any number of work areas. Any number of work areas, or we call them as what structures. Okay, so As I told you, type structure will not allocate any memory. How do I confirm? Here I'll say ty underscore emp hyphen what? Employee number equal to 5. Ty underscore emp hyphen employee number equal to 5. This is very much valid if you would have declared by using data keyword. It's the same thing. I'll use what? Data keyword. So what happens? Memory will be allocated. They get initialized to what? Default values. So when I do syntax check, I don't have any errors. I replace this data with what? Types. With what? Types. So save it. Check for the syntax error. I am getting an error in the 8th line. What is the error here? The field ty underscore emp hyphen employee number is unknown. It is unknown, it seems. So it is giving me what? Syntax error, because types structure will not allocate any memory, will only provide the template. Once a template is available, based on the template, I can create, based on the template, I can create any number of structures, any number of work areas, we call it as. So this, I call it as what? Template of the structure. Template of the structure means what are the field names, what are the data type of the fields, all those things. So this template doesn't allocate any memory, so I cannot access the data. It is giving me what? Syntax error. So what I'll do now, it is of no use. If I leave it like this, it is of no use. I'm unable to store the data. So based on this template, I will create the instances. So how do you create now? Data. I'll give a structure name, or we call it as work area, we call it as a line type, we call it as a row type. I can call it with different terminology. So work area name you have to give. In most of the projects, the work area name will start with WA, WA underscore EMP. Or in some projects, you may start with LS. In some projects, you may start with GS, like this. Okay, data. I'll start with WA underscore EMP1, type what? TY underscore EMP. Now the memory is allocated. Like that, I can create what? Any number of templates. Sorry, any number of work areas. Based on the same template, I can create any number of work areas. Work area is nothing but structure. Okay, so this I call it as what? Work area. Okay, we call it as line type, or else I can call it as row type, or I call it as simple structure. I can call it with any of the terminology. Okay, so save it, check for syntax. So now onwards for the rest of the course, wherever I want to deal with structure, first what I'll do, I'll visualize my structure fields. Based on that analysis, I'll declare the template of the structure by using types keyword. Once a template is available, I can create what? Any number of what? Work areas, and the rest of the story is same. I'll say here W underscore EMP1 hyphen employee number equal to 5. EMP1 hyphen employee name equal to Raj. I'll try to display data. I'll say data in what? W underscore EMP1 structure. I'll try to print W underscore EMP1 hyphen what? Employee number. W underscore EMP1 hyphen employee name. Okay. So I'm storing some data in employee 1. Okay. In employee 2, I have not stored any data. So for our understanding, data in W underscore EMP2 structure, I don't have any data. I'll get the default values. EMP2 hyphen employee number, EMP2 hyphen employee name. So when I execute F8, so you can see in the first structure I'm having 5 Raj. In the second structure I'm having 0 and what? Space. Default values. And here also same story. I can do the assignment, copy, all those things. So I'll say W underscore EMP2 equal to W underscore EMP1. So I'll try to print it. Data and W underscore EMP2 structure after what? Assigning what? W underscore EMP1. So whatever the data is in EMP2 will be copied to what EMP2 also. So initially I got 0 space, now I got 5 and Raj. So this is the standard way now onwards we have to follow for creating the structure. First create the template. Based on the template we can create any number of work areas. Any questions please? Right. So if there are no questions, so we are done with local structures concept. We understood how to declare the structures in multiple ways by using data combination or types combination, and we have seen about nested structure, including structures, and how to copy the data between two structures by using move statement, move corresponding, and we have seen the reasons, two reasons why it is recommended not to use move corresponding frequently, because it decreases the performance. How it will decrease the performance? Each row, each row or each field of the source structure will be compared with what? All the fields of target structure for checking the matching field names. This comparison is what? Time consuming process. This will degrade the performance. Second issue is what? It may lead to what? Runtime error. When it may lead to runtime error? If the data types are what? If the field names are same, but data types might not be compatible. So if the field names are same, it will blindly copy that, it will try to copy the data. At the time of copying, if the data types are not compatible, it will give what? Runtime error. So if you see this, yeah, related to the local structures. What is that we have seen? Creating structures, nested structures, including structures, and move and what? Move corresponding. Okay. And when you come to this basic statements, I think I covered all these basic statements. In string functions, I might have not covered all the things. I might have covered only few things, like I might have used translate, I might have used what? String length, I might have used what else? String length, concatenate, offset logic we have used. That's all. Okay. We have some more string functions: shift, replace, overlay, condense, concatenate we have discussed. We'll discuss it as and when required later on. So as I told you, I may not follow the syllabus sequence. We will be jumping here and there. Actually, I gave some assignments. How many of you are able to do? Anyone able to do any assignment? I told you to add the buttons on the selection screen application toolbar. Anyone tried it? Adding buttons on selection screen application toolbar. Okay, let me show you that. Observe this. So why I'm covering here, you'll understand. Adding buttons on what? Selection screen, what? Application toolbar. Type of program is executable program. Done. So how do we generate the selection screen? By using what? Parameter statement. If you have parameter statement only, I can generate. So I'll say parameters. I'll say p underscore x type I. Okay. So when I execute this, observe this carefully. Yes, I got the selection screen. What is my agenda now? I want to add the buttons on the application toolbar. So we already know how to add the buttons on selection screen by using the statement selection screen, push button, position, width, button name, user command, function code. Here if you want to add the buttons on the selection screen application toolbar, yes, how do we do it? Anyone? Anyone tried? Okay, so see here. To add the buttons on the selection screen application toolbar, I have to use selection screen function key 1, function key 1. Wantedly, I'll add up to 6. Function key 1, 2, 3. This is a statement used for adding the buttons on the application toolbar. Okay, done. Let me save it. Check for the syntax. I got an error in the 15th line. What is that? Only function key 1 through function key 5 are allowed. So I cannot give whatever I want. So this is ruled out. This is giving me what? Syntax error. This is giving a syntax error. Save it. Check for the syntax. No errors. Let's see whether we'll get the buttons or not. When I execute, yes, are we able to see any buttons? Anyone? No, we are unable to see any buttons. But this is the statement we use for adding the buttons on selection screen application toolbar. So, but the buttons are invisible. So what you have to do is observe this carefully. What you have to do is, what are the 5 buttons? We can add maximum of 5 buttons on the selection screen application toolbar. So to add the buttons on the application toolbar, we have to refer to a global structure called as SSCR fields. So far till yesterday and today, we have seen local structure which we create within the program. Now I'm talking about what? Global structure given by SAP. Okay. So how do I see that global structure? In SC11 in Abap dictionary, we can see that. So I'll go to a T code called as SC11. Observe this carefully. So I'll go to SC11 Abap dictionary. Right here we have different radio buttons here. Select the radio button view. Select the radio button view. Let me give the name of the view. What is the name of the view I was talking? SSCR fields. Nothing but selection screen fields. This is the standard structure given by what? SAP itself, which we cannot modify. Am I clear? We cannot modify. So I can only display it. I'll try to open this in change mode. What is the radio button I selected? View, I'll click on change. Good. It is asking what? Access key, because we cannot modify the standard objects. That's why it is not starting with Z or Y. So you have to understand that as a standard structure, standard global structure given by what? SAP. So I can only display it. Understand? I can only display it. So how do I display? Just click on display button. Right. So this is the structure which has got how many fields? Around what? 9 fields. Later on, we'll see how to create global structure. But as of now, I have taken one standard structure. What are the structures given by SAP? They are always global. They are global only. So I'm trying to refer to a standard structure called as SSCR fields, which has got how many fields? 9 fields. Out of these 9 fields, there are some fields here. See, function text underscore 012, function text 05. This 012, 05 are the 5 push button are the fields which refers to that 5 buttons on the selection screen application toolbar. Am I clear to everyone? What are the 5 buttons we are trying to add on the selection screen application toolbar? Those 5 buttons are represented by these 5 fields of the standard global structure what? SSCR fields. So what I'll do now? How do we access the structure fields? We already know structure name hyphen field name. What is the structure name here? SSCR fields. So I want that buttons to be available by default. So where do we write the logic? In the initialization event. This is the first event which gets triggered before showing the selection screen. What are the default activity that you want to do? that default activity you'll always implement in what? Initialization event. Okay, so as part of initialization event, how do you access the structure fields? Structure name hyphen field name. So I'll say SSCR fields hyphen, what is the field names in the structure? Out of 9 fields, what are our corresponding fields? Function text underscore 012, function text underscore 05. All are character fields only. All are character fields only. So here I'll say what? Function text underscore 01 equal to, I'll just give some text. What is this? Abap editor. Like this, you assign the data for other structure fields. How do I access the structure fields? By prefixing with the name of the structure. Give any text whatever you want. Zero 04. Give whatever you want. Okay. Right. So I have constructed 5 buttons, and those 5 buttons are represented by what? One of the standard structure fields. So I've assigned the data. Let's see what happens. When I do syntax check, I'm getting an error. The field SSCR fields hyphen function text is unknown. I cannot directly set the value for the global structure fields given by SAP. So what you are doing is, for the time being, just to avoid this error, whatever the structure, whatever the global structure, whatever the dictionary structure I am referring in my program, that dictionary structure I need to declare separately by using tables keyword. Tables SSCR fields. What this table statement will do internally, it creates a work area. Now onwards, remember, wherever I use tables keyword, the tables statement will create a work area, One second, let me save this. So what is the error I got here? Since I am trying to initialize my global structure fields, my standard structure fields, it is saying that it is unknown. So I need to avoid this by using what keyword? Tables keyword. What this tables keyword will do internally, it creates a work area. It creates a work area with all the fields of the structure. So what happens internally? It creates a work area. How many fields are there in SSCR fields? Some 9 fields. So 1, 2, 3. Okay, this is one structure field. This is another structure field. 1, 2, 3, 5. Okay, so what is the first field here? UCOM from underscore text to underscore text, blah blah blah. Okay, so here this is your what? UCOM it seems. This is from underscore text it seems. This is to underscore text it seems. What are the other fields here? Function text underscore 012, function text underscore 05, then search button. So here function text underscore what 01. This is function text underscore 02. This is function text underscore 03. Function text underscore 04. Function text underscore 05. This is search button. Search button. Search underscore button. So this is the overall work area which gets created internally. So now onwards, remember, wherever I use tables keyword followed by that global structure name, based on that structure, it creates a work area. What is the name of this work area? SSCR fields. How do we access the structure fields? By using what? Structure name. By using the structure name. So save it, check for the syntax, no errors, done. Execute this. Yes, I got the buttons. Can we see that buttons on the application toolbar? Yes. Abap editor, function builder, T code maintenance, dictionary objects, message classes. So how do you add the buttons? You have to use this syntax. Maximum I can add only 5 buttons on the selection screen application toolbar. Maximum 5. And how do we set the values for those buttons? We have to refer to the dictionary structure what SSCR fields. I cannot directly initialize. Okay, we have to declare that structure explicitly by using what? Tables keyword. Tables keyword internally creates a work area with all the fields. In this case, my table is very small. It has got around only 9 fields. But we'll have many standard tables which are having hundreds of fields. So using tables keyword there unnecessarily creates a work area with all the fields. So we should be very careful when you are using the tables keyword. But here I don't have any other alternative. I am forced to use what? Tables keyword. But in general, tables keyword will create a work area with what? All the fields. Okay, and when you click on those buttons, what is the event triggered? Same. What is that? At selection screen. So I'll handle at selection screen. Case what? So you come. Acha. Observe this. Can anyone tell me? Can anyone tell me what are the function codes of these buttons? Okay, case so you come end case. Observe this carefully. Save it. Check for the syntax error. It is giving a warning. What is that? When must be the first statement after case? Okay, so anyhow, I have not used it completely. Let me comment. Okay, so save it. Check for the syntax. No errors. When I execute this, when I say F8, yes, okay. Now if I click on this, what is the event trigger I told? Same event at selection screen. But what are the function codes of these buttons? Can anyone tell me what are the function codes of these buttons? Anyone? In the earlier syntaxes, if you have remembered and practiced, how do we attach the function code? We have to use the addition user command. When you're designing the push button, tab button, we are using the addition user command, right? And we are able to give the function code. But here, let me try to use the user command here. Whether it is supported or not, I don't know. So I'll say what? User command, I'll say FC1. It is giving me an error. It is not coming in blue color. Means I can't use wherever I want. Understood? Even if you see the documentation, right? When I execute this, yeah, I'll read the documentation. I'll put the cursor somewhere here. I'll press F1. I pressed F1. Let's see what happens. Yeah, I got the documentation here. What is saying? Selection screen function key N. So you can see here in GUI status of the selection screen, the application toolbar contains 5 inactive push buttons. By default, it contains what? 5 inactive push buttons to which the function codes FC01 to FC05 are assigned. So by reading the documentation, I understood that what are the default function codes? FC01 to FC05. Understood? So what I'll do now, what are the function codes? I came to know FC01 to FC05. So here I'll say When what? FC01, you do whatever the task you want. So I'll call transaction what? SC38. I can call the T codes like this by using what? Call transaction. Let me write when FC02, I'll call the transaction SC37, that is for function builder. When FC03, FC03, I'll call the T code SC93 for T code maintenance. FC04, I'll give the transaction code dictionary objects. SC11, FC05, what is the transaction code? Message classes. SC91. Done. End for cases, end case. Check for the syntax, no errors. Activate. Let me use pretty printer for proper alignment. Done. Activate. So when I execute, I will click on this. Yes, I am able to call the transaction SE38. If I click on dictionary objects, I am able to call SE11. So how do you call the transaction? Call transaction followed by the T code name in what? Uppercase in what? Single quotes you have to give. Right. So what is the summary? How do we add the buttons on the selection skin application toolbar? By using the statement what? Selection skin function key 1 to function key 5. Right. So how do we initialize the text for these buttons? I told that these 5 buttons which we are adding on the selection screen application toolbar are represented by the fields function text underscore 01 to function text 05 of which structure? SSCR fields. What is that SSCR fields? It is a global structure. It is a dictionary structure given by SAP. Okay, so and by reading the documentation, I understood that the function codes of these buttons are what? FC01 and what? FC01 to FC05. In case of earlier case, we have to give the function code by using the addition what? User command. Either for a radio button group or for push button or for checkbox, we have to use addition user command. But for selection skin application toolbar buttons, I can add only 5 buttons, and those 5 buttons are added by what? SAP itself. They are represented by the fields of the structure what? SSCR fields. You have to declare that structure explicitly in the program by using what? Tables keyword. Without declaring it, I cannot initialize the values for that particular structure fields. Yeah, any questions, please ask.
Sir,
Yes, I
is it possible to add tools in the application toolbar like these buttons?
am adding in the application
We have
toolbar only.
activate
This is application toolbar only. No?
tools,
Hmm?
not buttons, tools,
Tools in the
other
sense
tools.
icons.
Yes, icons
See,
like
this is
this
what you are saying. No?
back close.
This one. No?
Yes,
This one. These are also buttons
like
only.
activate direct.
No, no, no. These are also buttons only. But instead of showing them as text, they are showing it as icons. So going forward, we will see that. Am I clear? These are also not tools. These are
Okay.
also buttons. Buttons without text. Buttons only with icons. Am I clear to everyone? Okay, here you can see these are the buttons with the text. These are the buttons only with icons. Okay. Now your exercise assignment is I've added the buttons on the selection screen application toolbar. Now your agenda is I want these buttons with some icons also. I want these buttons with icons, right? I want the text as well as the icon, some icon. So check how to do it. I have shown you how to add the buttons, how to handle the event. What is the event at selection screen? What are the function codes of those buttons? FC01 to FC05. Am I clear? So when I execute, I got the button. So your assignment is do R&D on how to add the buttons with icons. See, if you don't spend time on the system, if you want me to discuss each and everything in the class, course will go for 5 years. 5 years. 5 years. Okay? That's why you have to spend time on the system. Okay, I already have shown you something. So based on this, you have to extend the functionality for adding what? Icons. So how do we approach? Read the documentation, refer to the examples. If you are unable to understand the example, open Google, check for the adding button icons on selection screen application toolbar. You may get some blocks, links. Refer to that blocks, understand that blocks, copy that code, put it in your example, make the necessary changes. Real time also same thing. Nothing great in real time. We should know where to search, what to copy, where to paste, what changes you have to do. Okay, understood? So we are learning the same thing. Cut, copy, paste. Where to search, what to copy, after copying, where to paste, what changes you have to do, how to test. That's what is the agenda of the training. In the real time also, we will do the same thing. Nothing great in the real time. It's the same thing what we do. Okay. Cut, copy, paste, not cut, copy, paste, and do the changes. So how do you proceed here? Put the cursor here, press F1. Press F1. Okay. I may get some documentation. Read this documentation. How many times means till you understand. Okay. If you don't understand, Google it. Check for the examples given. Copy, paste. Okay. So scroll down. Did they give any examples? You can see example. See selection screen, push buttons in what? Application toolbar. I'll click on this. Did they give anything? I clicked on that. They gave something. Okay. They gave some example. Check whether you can understand this. Okay. They gave something. Okay. Scroll down. Okay. Check whether it is relevant for your requirement or not. Right. If I click on execute, yeah, it is executing. Okay. You can see here. Observe this carefully. Observe this. This is also button with icon. Na? Okay, you can see they give only icon here. Here they give icon and text. Icon and text. So check what they have done. If I click on the Abap editor, it has taken the control to Abap editor. They took that control to that program. Check how they are adding here. Check whether it is relevant for your requirement or not. Okay, so like that you have to do R&D. Am I clear? So check the examples. It's not so easy, not so straightforward. If it is straightforward, everyone can become a web consultant. Everyone can become a web programmers, right? So we have to spend time, understand. If we don't, even me also, if I don't know anything, I'll refer to the documentation. Doesn't mean that I'll understand the documentation. I will also not understand. So what I'll do, I'll go to Google. I'll say adding buttons on application toolbar, adding button icons and selections in application toolbar. I'll get the examples. I'll copy that example. I'll put it in my code. I'll do different experiments on that. I'll understand something. I'll demonstrate in the class. This is how I will also learn. Understood? So it doesn't mean that whatever I'm teaching in the classroom doesn't mean that I worked everything on this. No. Okay. Even though if I say that I'm having around 15 to 60 years of experience on SAP technical models, doesn't mean that whatever I cover in the class I might have used in the real time. I might have not used. I may use only some part of that. But since I have to conduct the training, I should know the other areas also. That is the reason. That is the way I have to done. I have to do the R&D and learn. So you also do the same thing. Am I clear? I'm telling to everyone, spend time on the system. Okay, we are slowly getting into little advanced part. So if you're not strong in basic areas, it will be difficult to develop your own code. Even if you don't practice, already I told, you will understand everything, but understanding is not important. Okay, if you are unable to develop the code on your own, it is waste of doing this training. Okay, I know some of you might feel bored, but you will realize after 1 month. After 1 month again, We should not think about this events, selection screen, subroutines, include structures, internal tables. Those things we should not focus at that stage. We have to focus on something different. We have to consolidate all these concepts together and what depict project that as what a real-time scenario. Okay, so try to do this assignment. What is the agenda? How to add buttons with icons. Okay, so try to do that. Tomorrow what we'll do is, so we are done with this local structures concept. Tomorrow onwards we'll start with a new topic. What is the topic? Again, I'll decide tomorrow morning only. Okay, yeah, I'm done for today's session. Any questions, please ask. No questions? Chalo. Other R&D also you can do. What is that? I told to add the buttons on the application toolbar. We have added. Try to add the buttons on selection screen. Already we know, but we have not added the icons. Huh? So check how to add the icons also. Okay, that is based on the structures concept. That's why I have not discussed. But anyhow, I covered structures. No, we understood something about structures. Okay, so based on that knowledge, you should be able to do that. Okay, we cannot do it on your own. You must refer to documentation or Google it, and that is the way you have to do R&D. Okay, so try to do this. Adding buttons on selection screen application toolbar with icons, as well as on the selection screen also add the buttons with icons. Check how to do it. Okay, I'll give a clue. I'll give a clue. Here I am referring to some structure, no? Some structure. Similarly, for adding the icons also, there might be some structure given by SAP, standard structure. Identify that structure. Based on that, you have to do the program, do R&D. Okay. Chalo then. So I'll wind off. We'll continue tomorrow.